morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Councilman Eugene Green contacted us as residents of Garden Plaza on September the 1st for a meeting with Mayor LaToya Cantrell. Our board attended this meeting on September the 2nd, and we were informed that we were prepared to accept an amount potentially half of what was determined by the outcomes of the replacement cost analysis that was generated by an expert team at least 8 months ago, that we could access our funds this week. It's confirming of what we always knew to be true, which is what we could be paid when the mayor is ready for us to be paid. Yet, despite the fact that we do not want unnecessary delays in this process, we also cannot be haphazard with our lives either. Eagerly accepting a payoff for less than what we know it will take to ensure that we can safely move into healthy homes of our choice can make our lives worse than they are now, and we are clear about that. We want to make it very clear today that the city of New Orleans is not doing us any favors whatsoever, nor is the city providing us any gift by engaging in this process. Actually, the reality is that the city of New Orleans, as a local city government, choose to use its own local hazardous waste landfill to develop a so-called local affordable housing program that resulted in havoc being caused for us as local residents of Garden Plaza. So when people try to draw out the term fair market value, like $510,000 is some astronomical amount of money that is going to suddenly make us rich, we know that bias and discriminatory mindsets are at the foundation of that thinking. Because if we were talking about fair market value actually being fair, the resultant dollar amount will be paid without hesitation. We know that it is completely and entirely possible to not devaluate our properties in the Garden Plaza subdivision, because if the area was not devalued and the people there were not discriminated against, and our homes were never built on top of a hazardous waste landfill, then the outcome would be questioned. The city of New Orleans has overcomplicated this situation. The $35 million funds are already allocated and approved by a city ordinance and are in possession of the bank, Liberty Bank, right behind us, collecting interest when it could be available to us right now, minus the devaluation and minus the discriminatory practices. Either the city of New Orleans works for the people, and these laws are designated to protect us, or the city of New Orleans works against the people, and these laws are to devalue us, exploit us, discriminate against us, and ultimately cause us pain and harm. As residents of Garden Plaza, we have all experienced this thus far. So let's address this issue of appraisal. The city of New Orleans continues to focus on this issue, on the need of an appraisal by law. Our response to that is a very simple one. Traditional appraisals have been found to be inherently discriminatory, particularly for Black community members. We insist that the appraisal Jim Thorne's hired by the city of New Orleans honor the fact that there is more than one form of an appraisal to be, and we demand prioritization of non-devaluation and non-discriminatory practices be applied to the methodology used in our situation, because we know it is possible. There's nothing stopping Jim Thorne from using the cost approach methodology as an appropriate starting point for any real appraisal-based value for properties in Garden Plaza. The cost approach appraisal is among the three industry standard methods of appraisal. The cost approach is especially appropriate for properties not frequently exchanged in the market. This type of appraisal utilizes replacement costs and land value to determine fair market value, the very thing that the law says is required. It must be noted that the cost approach considers depreciation, and we do not support property depreciation to be factored into this appraisal. As residents of Garden Plaza, we have gotten no value depreciation from living in these homes, and no one should be moving into our homes once we have relocated either. Rather, instead, we have gotten actual disease and lived in fear for decades due to the toxicity of our homes. Replacement costs are specifically appropriate in the valuation of our homes for two reasons. Reason number one, replacement costs are an essential part of the industry's standard cost approach appraisal method. Number two, we are not fighting the word appraisal. We are focused on the appropriate methodology for the appraisal. If applied haphazardly without care to solving problems within the context of our situation, the payout could leave us in worse situation, and we say no to that.
No.
We have said time and time again that we will never get justice from an unjust system. And no matter how much we are paid, we will never get back the loss of our family members, neighbors, and years of life fighting for healthy housing rather than enjoying healthy housing. What we do believe is that the city of New Orleans has a chance to course correct this long overdue injustice in our homes, being built on a toxic, hazardous landfill. However, thus far, as of today, September 14, 2022, we are still currently living on the landfill as a result of not yet receiving the funds that are rightfully due us, despite the fact that the funds are allocated, approved, and in Liberty Bank. Therefore, until our funds are liberated from Liberty, we will continue to fight.
Fight.
Members of the administration continue to say that they want to move this forward, but must follow the law. And we simply say that the city of New Orleans is applying the law in a way that clearly is a different purpose than for what the law was intended. If the goal is to keep people from being paid more than would be fair, then the city of New Orleans is not even close to paying us as residents in excess to what is fair to us as residents of Garden Plaza. especially in relationship to the very increasing cost in this housing market. As residents of Garden Plaza, we're clear that the City of New Orleans needs a valuation method to determine how much to pay us in this distribution process. So we provided one for them over 8 months ago. We have also emphasized to the City of New Orleans and its hired appraiser, Jim Thorne, that there are various tools to use to prioritize non-devaluation and non-discriminatory practice. And for once again, for those who are confused, even with a black mayor, black council people, and a black city attorney, and a black appraiser, environmental racism will continue if those same black elected and appointed officials use the tools that result in this evaluation and discriminatory practices. This does not have to be. Therefore, today, we emphasize there is no amount that could ever truly bring us justice. And we maintain that housing is high and costly and rising daily. A much less actual home ownership and being devalued can result in our lives being made even worse. And we refuse to be silent about this. We believe that all of this can be addressed this week. And as Mayor LaToya Cantrell made it known, that it is possible that this can be resolved this week. So we believe that it can be resolved this week in ways that prioritize non-devaluation and non-discriminatory practices. Non-devaluation and non-discriminatory practices. The appraisal, Jim Thorne, has everything he needs already in terms of information and data about our properties. Various options or tools for appraisals, methodologies, and also there are 3 additional days this week, including today, to share outcomes to ensure non-devaluation and non-discriminatory practices. May I add that you still have 3 days this week to get our money, start the process of allocating our funds. We will be back tomorrow, and whatever needed this week, whether it be here, where our money is being held and collecting interest, or at City Hall. And look forward to updates from the City of New Orleans, specifically about how non-devaluation and non-discriminatory practices will be prioritized so we can assess our funds and finally, safely move into healthy homes of our choice.
Our choice.
The time is now. The time is now. The time is now.
Yesterday.